Welcome, everyone, to the International Conference on Consciousness-Based Leadership and Management. Today is day 3 of the conference. We've had 10 sessions before. We'll have the 11th session today. And this session is on broad philosophies of oneness and flourishing. We have an excellent panel and a wonderful chair to run the session. And I have a wonderful colleague who will run the recorded videos, and then we'll have question and answers at the end. And then we would like to come to 1 or 2 takeaways from this session so you can know what it all means. And I will hand over first to my colleague, Vikram Gulati, to run the pre-recorded presentations from all the papers. Vikram, please go ahead.
Thank you, Anil. So our first presentation for the day is by Janet Ho and Dr. Dennis Heaton of the Maharishi International University. And the topic of their paper is Tao and Management, a Consciousness-Based Understanding. Let me cue this up for you.
I'm Yick Janet Ho, speaking on behalf of Dr. Dennis Heaton and myself. This is an interim report on our ongoing qualitative analysis of Tao Te Ching to construct a grounded theory of Tao management with implications for creating flourishing for the individual, organization, and society. The sage relies on actionless activity. The language seems paradoxical, yet this verse represents the essence of the distinctive, profound, and powerful approach to leadership and management. That is, one should act in alignment to the spontaneity of the natural way. Tao is nothingness, yet it is the mother of all things and provides efficacy. The key concepts in the book, nothingness and inaction, depict the most supreme aspect of Tao in life. These are the sources of data in the research. We also consult the writings of Maharishi Mahesh Yogis about the nature of consciousness. Our research process involves coding the text of the 81 chapters of Tao Te Ching. The text segments are analyzed by means of constant comparison. Concepts similar in nature are grouped under the same category. Categories are developed and integrated into a theoretical framework. These are the 3 main categories of concepts as a result of the analysis. We'll present 2 sample concepts of each category, coupled with Maharishi's writing that corresponds to the specific verse. Tao is abstract and constant and is the basis of our existence. Lao-Tzu says, the way that can be told of is not an unvarying way. The names that can be named are not unvarying names. It was from the nameless that heaven and earth sprang. The named is but the mother that rears the 10,000 creatures, each after its kind. Maharishi says, existence is the abstract aspect of life, on which are built what we call the concrete phases of life, which encompass all aspects of the individual: body, mind, thinking, speaking, acting, behaving, experiencing, and influencing the surroundings, including all aspects of cosmic existence. Tao is nothingness. Lao-Tzu says, we put 30 spokes together and call it a wheel, but it is on the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the wheel depends. We turn clay to make a vessel, but it is on the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the vessel depends. Maharishi says, it is the omnipresence of being that is responsible for hiding its nature somewhere in seclusion, out of the marketplace of the world. It is the omnipresence of being that is responsible for hiding being behind the scenes and giving it the status of the omniscient, omnipresent Supreme Lord of the universe. The creation in Tao radiates values of sustainability. Lao-Tzu says, the highest good is like that of water. The goodness of it is that it benefits the 10,000 creatures. Yet itself does not scramble, but is content with the places that all men disdain. Maharishi says, the organizing power of natural law is that infinite organizing power which sustains existence and promotes the evolution of everything in the universe, automatically maintaining the well-coordinated relationship of everything with everything else. The creation in Tao demonstrates great power in a yielding way. Lao-Tzu says, nothing under heaven is softer or more yielding than water. But when it attacks things hard and resistant, there is not one of them that can prevail. But they can find no way of altering it. That the yielding conquers the resistant, and the soft conquers the hard, is a fact known by all men, yet utilized by none. Maharishi says, natural law functions through the principle of least action. This means that the orderly dynamics of nature is founded on the ground of eternal silence. That is why natural action does not create any strain. The ruler or manager in Tao holds onto profoundness. Lao-Tzu says, which of you can assume such murkiness to become in the end still and clear? Which of you can make yourself inert to become in the end full of life and stir? Those who possess this Tao do not try to fill themselves to the brim. And because they do not try to fill themselves to the brim, they're like a garment that endures all wear and need never be renewed. Maharishi says, action in silence is action from the level of infinite correlation, from the level of the field where the total energy of natural law is utilized to fulfill the intention. Action propelled from this level of silence consumes least energy and utilizes the total organizing power of natural law to hit the target with maximum speed and least resistance. The ruler or manager in Tao never bothers for his self-interest. Lao-Tzu says, the sage has no need to hoard. When his own last scrap has been used up on behalf of others, lo, he has more than forever. For heaven's way is to sharpen without cutting, and the sage's way is to act without striving. Maharishi says, the infinite organizing power of natural law, through its lively, quiet presence in every point of creation, spontaneously radiates the infinite organizing power of self-referral dynamism. And this is how the all-directional performance of the manager spontaneously achieves maximum results in a natural way through minimum efforts. Maharishi's technologies of consciousness emphasizes on alignment between individual intelligence and the intelligence of natural law, Tao. The Transcendental Meditation, TM program, is a simple and natural procedure for the thinking activity of the mind to settle down to real, pure consciousness, like a river flowing naturally and effortlessly into the ocean and becomes the ocean. Whereas the TM3 program is an advanced aspect of TM that trains thoughts and actions from the level of pure consciousness to enhance coordination between mind and body, thus enlightening natural law to support all areas of life. Research evidence on the application of these technologies aligns with Maharishi's consciousness-based theories of management, effectiveness, and of social change, showing improvements in organization performance and reduction of societal violence. We'll end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet, for a great way to start the morning. Our next presentation is by Richa Kathuria and Richa Awasthy of the Ambedkar University in Delhi, India. And the topic of the paper is Spiritual Intelligence as in Nichiren Buddhism. Let me cue this up for you.
Hello everyone. I'm Richa Kathuria, a research scholar from Ambedkar University, Delhi. I would like to thank MIU for this opportunity. Today, I'm going to present a paper, Spiritual Intelligence as in Nichiren Buddhism, co-authored with Dr. Richa Awasthy. The contents of the presentation would be introduction, spiritual intelligence, Nichiren Buddhism, purpose of the study, followed by methodology used, data analysis done, results published, and then limitations and future research questions, original contribution and implications of the study. Never from ancient times on has anyone seen or heard of winter turning back to autumn, nor have we ever heard of a believer in Lotus Sutra who turned into an ordinary person, says Nichiren Daishonin. In these lines, Nichiren Daishonin is giving hope and encouragement to a follower who's in problem, and he's saying winter always turns to spring, so life will also be changed to the better times. In this era of disruption, pandemic, and gig economy, the world over millions of people are suffering from mental ailments and problems like depression and anxiety. India is also home to an estimated 18% of them, and it's rising. SI, or spiritual intelligence, presents a promising solution for it, as it has been established in the literature that it has a very positive impact on our lives overall, be it personal or professional. Spiritual intelligence, if we see, is combined of two terms, spiritual and intelligence. For the literal definition, we can see the definitions or meaning given in the dictionary. Spiritual is defined as connected with human spirit rather than physical things, and intelligence as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So when we combine these two, it gives the definition of SI as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul. It is still debatable in the literature, the concepts of spirituality with SI. Spirituality, where it's concerned itself only with being aware of human spirit and soul, spiritual intelligence is concerned about application of that spiritual knowledge and skill in life for overcoming obstacles and achieve happiness. Nichiren Buddhism was started by Nichiren Daishonin, a sage of Japan in 13th century. He discovered that Lotus Sutra is the heart of Buddha's teachings, which affirms that all people are capable of attaining enlightenment in their present state. So, Nichiren Daishonin distilled the theory of Lotus Sutra into practice in his writings called Gosho, which are the scriptures read in Nichiren Buddhism all around the world. In this, he has converted the complex concepts of Lotus Sutra in easy to follow concepts so that people or individual can achieve Buddhahood in their day-to-day life. It is gaining popularity all around the world as well as in India. Soka Gakkai International is the organization which takes care of it internationally. The purpose of the study is to distinguish between SI and spirituality, and then the academic literature shows that the dimensions of spiritual intelligence has not yet been fully explored in Buddhism, especially in Nichiren Buddhism. So this paper is an attempt to fill these gaps in the literature. The methodology follows as follows. It's an exploratory research where the ontology and epistemology of the researcher is of relativism and subjectivist. The study started with the process of bracketing in forms of interviews with the colleague and self-introspection. The research approach is qualitative. Primary and secondary data collection has been done. Content analysis, which is a very popular analysis technique in qualitative research, is used for analyzing data, and then results emerged and published. Data sources and analysis. As primary data source, we have read narratives of Nichiren Daishonin, which are Gosho. These have been collected. Gosho has been collected in 2 books by SGI as writings of Nichiren Daishonin 1 and 2. And the review of academic literature on ND as well as SI are also read. The data analysis steps followed are as follows. First, by the line-by-line analysis, codes were generated, and then the similar codes were combined into categories, and from those categories, overarching themes were emerged. These are the results. After first level of analysis, 39 codes emerged, which were combined in 16 categories, and then 7 overarching themes emerged. They are purpose of human life, self, environment, faith, worship, transcendence, and interpersonal relationships. Based on the study of Nichiren Buddhism, we can define SI as the ability to use our spiritual values, beliefs, and resources to develop self, society, and environment for achieving eternal happiness. This is an example of how the codes were generated by line analysis. This is a few lines from Gosho called Oneness of Life and its environment from the part 1. The 10 directions are the environment and living beings are life. To illustrate, environment is like the shadow and the light the body. Without the body, no shadow can exist. Without life, no environment. In the same way, life is shaped by its environment. So from here, the code environment is generated. It is clearly shown that the human life depends on flourishing environment. These are the final themes and category included in it. 2 unique codes emerged from the study, which are of the holistic health and the connection of human beings to our natural environment, which are not fully explored in the existing literature. Holistic health includes emotional, spiritual, social, as well as physical health. The aspects of mental health are all somewhat explored in the literature, but physical health and other aspects are not fully explored in SI literature, and same is the treatment for the natural environment code. Limitations of the study are only English literature has been taken for the study. One spiritual philosophy of Nichiren Buddhism is taken for the study for defining SI, which this can be extended to other major spiritual philosophies of the world. We wanted to support this study with empirical data, which could not be done due to the lack of time. Future research questions can be understanding the aspects of holistic health and teachings of NB related to SI, exploring micro-macro relationship of people with natural environment related to SI or NB can be also studied. Comparing the findings of NB with other religious or spiritual philosophies related to SI can be done in the future. Original contribution and implications of the study. The paper makes a clear distinction between spirituality and SI and also contributes to the in-depth understanding and conceptualization of SI in the terms of Nichiren Buddhism. Implications. Nichiren Daishonin says, if the spirit of many in body but one in mind prevails, among the people, they'll achieve all their goals. Whereas if one in body but different in mind, they can achieve nothing remarkable. This is so true for organizations nowadays. If in a team, people have one mind, they can achieve anything. So this particular conceptualization of SI with respect to NB will help academicians, counselors, and managers to use this concept in research, counseling, and in the field of organizational behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa. Our next presentation is by Dr. Zhu and Lijuan of the Maharishi International University, and their topic of the paper is Teaching Consciousness-Based Education to Chinese Students at a Distance. Let me cue this up for you.
Teaching Consciousness-Based Education to Chinese Students at a Distance by Yunxiang and Lijuan from Maharishi International University. In this presentation, we will cover 4 areas: our uniqueness in education, the challenges we met, the solution we found, and the conclusion we came to. Consciousness-based education is uniquely MIU. We are the pioneer institution of CBE. In this system, we pay attention to the 3 elements of learning: the knower, process of knowing, and the known, with special emphasis on the knower to develop the total potential from within. Our first course is Science and Technology of Consciousness, in which we cover mainly two areas: theoretical part, which provides intellectual understanding with scientific research of consciousness, and the practical part, which is a technique called transcendental meditation, TM. TM is the foundation of MIU's consciousness-based education program. TM technique is one of the most researched and has been found to increase intelligence, creativity, vitality, improve memory, any good things that related with the brain can be achieved through practice, the technique of transcendental meditation. This unique educational system certainly meets challenges immediately when we collaborate in China. First of all, the current educational system there makes students focus on what is outside of themselves, while our education focuses on developing knowers' potential from within. The topics of consciousness are very new, and TM can be very foreign to students. Plus, with the pandemic, we cannot teach face-to-face. We have to deliver online. The challenges increased. We try to find some solution from the traditional Chinese wisdom, because we understand the modern education system missed that part. Fortunately, in one of the classics of Confucius' teaching more than 2,500 years ago, 大学, it says, the great learning is to illustrate illustrious virtue, to renovate the people, to rest in the highest excellence. Traditional Chinese wisdom, as we can see, does pay attention to renovate people, the knower, the learner. MIU CBE develops students' full potential so that we can achieve the highest excellence of mankind. The great learning further explained that in order to reach the highest goal of mankind, it is necessary to be calm, to stay calm down and reach a tranquil status of mind. Because in that status, one can have careful deliberation. The great learning beautifully illustrated how the knowledge is obtained. It all starts with the tranquility of our mind, the state of pure consciousness we call transcendental consciousness, which is easily achieved by the simple and effortless technique called TM. With the understanding of the great similarities between CBE and the traditional Chinese educational system, we started our course not by lecturing students, not by telling them what we found, but by engaging students on a self-discovery journey. We encourage students to read MIU mission statements, MIU founding goals, STC principles, in light of Confucius' teaching in the Great Learning. The discussions among students themselves, in classes, online, facilitated by professors, further helped students understanding. This way of connecting CBE with traditional wisdom through self-discovery turned out to be very successful, as the student felt immediately at home what MIU is going to offer. And this evidence of success is demonstrated through the following anonymous survey results done by third-party smartevals.com. Of 16 students in our class, 14 responded. 92% strongly agree they gained knowledge. 8% agree. 93% strongly agree course was very well organized, while 7% agree. 100% agree strongly they got timely feedback. 86% of students strongly agree STC principles are valuable to them, while the rest of 14% agree these principles are valuable. This survey result gave us great encouragement and make us come to the conclusion that this successful approach to teach CBE by connecting with the traditional wisdom of the host country is also applicable to any students of any culture in any country, because consciousness is the foundation of every culture and every religion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhu and Lijuan. Our next presentation is by Subhashini Durai of the GRD Institute of Management in Coimbatore, India. And the topic of her paper is The Concept of Consciousness Explored 2000 Years Ago, an analysis from Thirukural, a Tamil literature. Let me cue this up.
The concept of consciousness explored before 2000 years ago, an analysis from Thirukural, a Tamil literature. I am Dr. Subhashini Durai, Assistant Professor, GRD Institute of Management, affiliated to Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, India. So in this presentation, we are going to see about consciousness, about 7 levels of consciousness-based leadership, Thirukural, and about the concept of Thirukural and research design, implications to the leaders, and conclusion. So first we are going to see about consciousness. So consciousness means to experience the real truth or the real knowledge. It is the most important quality of a human being. And the practice of consciousness-based leadership in an organization leads to sustainable success for generations together. In today's competitive world, the success of organization depends on the leadership quality. A company having a great leader rules the market by achieving the high customer satisfaction through competitive advantage. This is because the concept of consciousness is very important quality of a leader, and it results in a more effective management in the organization. So the next thing we are going to see about the 7 levels of consciousness-based leadership. According to Richard Barrett, there are 7 levels of consciousness-based leadership. In each of the consciousness, a leader expresses her quality of leadership based on organizational context. They are survival, relationship, self-esteem, transformation, internal cohesion, making a difference, and service. Now we are going to see about Thirukural. So Thirukural is a prominent literary work in Tamil language. It is known for the excellence and timeless elucidations of ways and values of life. It is considered as one of the greatest work on ethics and morality, and it is known for the universality and secular nature. The text has been dated variously from 300 CE and to 5th century CE. Thirukural is having three major sections consisting of 133 subsections and 1330 verses of Thirukural with 10 verses of Thirukural in each subsection. So about the concept of Thirukural, there is a subsection number 36 which is relating to May Universal in the language Tamil, which means consciousness. And from verse 351 to 360, the poet speaks about the beauty of the experience of the truth in the human life. These concepts can be related with the organizational context and management concept, which will help us to achieve success. Now we are going to connect the concept of consciousness from Thirukural with the 7 levels of consciousness-based leadership. Thirukural 351 says, பொருளல்லவற்றை பொருளென்றுணரும் மருளெல்லாம் மாசறு பிறப்பு, which means misconception of believing the unreal as real, can be connected with 7th level, that is service, and it focuses on ethics, social responsibility, sustainability, and future generations, and decisions can be made easily based on ethics. So 352, இருள் நீங்கி இன்பம் பயக்கும் மருள் நீங்கி மாசறு காட்சியவர்க்கு. This means ignorance is the darkness of mind, and to know the truth is the real happiness. Can be connected with transformation and focuses on personal growth, teamwork, and innovation, and it results in a very good leadership quality. 353, it deals with ஐயத்தின் நீங்கி தெளிந்தார்க்கு வையத்தின் வானதனிய துடைத்து. It means those who are free of all the doubts and are in true understanding, the higher world is nearer than the mortal world. This can be connected with 2nd level, that is relationship, which is based on open communication, and it results in transparency and supports the leader to practice effective conflict management in organization. 355, which is the most popular verse, Thirukural verse in Tamil literature. எப்பொருள் எத்தன்மைதாயினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு, which means whatever be the nature of the object and however it may be perceived, it is the duty of the person to understand the true nature of that object. This can be connected with internal cohesion, which is the 5th level of consciousness-based leadership, where it focuses on leaders on values and authenticity. 359 speaks about சார்புணர்ந்து சார்பு கெட்டொழுகின் மற்றொழித்து சார்தரா சார்தரு நோய், which means one who realizes the supreme, which is the support of all, and stays unattached to everything, then the sufferings due to the attachment will not come to him, destroying his health state. This can be connected with 6th level, that is making a difference, and it focuses on employee fulfillment and mentoring and coaching, displays empathy and utilizes intuitions in decision making. And managers are the bridge between the top management and the workers. When managers can practice and stay unattached, they can do their duty more effectively. So the research design, which is used for this researchers, linking the ancient wisdom to the contemporary management concept, and secondary data has been used. Implications to the leaders. Thirukural says that the leader should experience the truth and develop the following qualities. He should avoid the misconceptions of believing the unreal as real, and he should be able to differentiate the favorable and unfavorable situations. He should be clear of all the doubts on everything happening around him, and he should understand the true nature of the problematic situation for authenticity. He should practice unattachment in everything around him, and it safeguards the self state and lessen the sufferings caused by the attachment to him. Conclusion. So this is an upcoming market. In this upcoming market conditions, more challenges in dealing with problems. The manager has to come up with new ideas because he's facing new problems every day, and this is going to be in the ideal choice. And before in Thirukural, before 2000 years ago, the poet has given way out to handle all the issues that a human may visage in the current scenario. Understanding these thoughts may support them to handle all the dilemmas, and also it's supposed to take them effective decisions in the organizational context. And matching these thoughts from Thirukurals with the organizational context, the consciousness-based leadership can be learned and adapted in organizations for ethical business practices. References: Thirukural, written by Thiruvalluvar, The 7 Levels of Leadership Consciousness by Richard Barrett. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhashini. From words to pictures, our next presentation is by Giorgia Nigri of LUMSA University in Italy and Kristen Stavorsky of Kent State University in the US. And their topic is New Narratives, the Economy of Francesco. And this team was actually put together within the conference that applied separately. And I think the MIU conference kind of put this thing together of connecting minds as a part of creating this paper. So let me cue this up for you.
Here we are in the Upper Basilica. Giotto's life of Saint Francis fresco dominates us and silently speaks to us. Amazed by the infinite beauty of these 28 scenes, we look back at Francis's life. Yet there's one piece gone missing. Rivo Torto, Francis kissing the leper. One of the most subversive kiss of the European Middle Age. The poor are rejected by history and by the telling of that same story. The first form of poverty experienced by the poor is narrative poverty. Going unnoticed, being forsaken, the lack of storytelling. Yet, that one episode was for Francis a fundamental episode.
My colleague, Dr. Giorgia Nigri, has demonstrated that the frescoes in Assisi that excluded images of lepers demonstrated the political concerns of the city of Siena and were, in some sense, an absence of its values on display. In contrast, the city of Siena in Tuscany demonstrates its values in a visual display of the way that proper government and proper functioning of government should work. And those frescoes, which we'll explore now, are known alternatively as the frescoes of Buon Governo or Buon Comune. What you see in this slide is a quote from Dante's Purgatorio of a Sienese citizen who says, "Siena mi fe." That's important because those words from the Italian into English translate to "Siena made me." And one of the questions that we have before us today is what role, if any, do cities play in shaping and forming their citizens? And what values must be displayed in art or in leadership in order to allow for citizens to flourish? The city of Siena has determined that in the 14th century, their central room of government, known as the Room of the Nine, should depict proper leadership situated next to improper leadership and the corresponding effects of both styles of leadership on the cityscape and also on the countryside. So what you see in this image would be a pantheon of proper leaders and their effect on the city and on the countryside. And in contrast, a negative example of bad leadership and its effect on the city and also the countryside. This is the room in which the 9 individual priors of the city of Siena would have deliberated and in effect made the laws and regulations for the city of Siena. So the relationship of art to the power structure of the city is one that bears underscoring. Here, the idea is that art, and in fact new narratives, in this case a visual narrative, can be instrumental in helping to have a very practical and purposeful and intentional impact, not only on the leadership, but then also eventually on the citizenry of a city. This is a closer image of what these particular leaders should do to be inspired. They should surround themselves, as this allegorical leader has, with, in this case, cardinal and Christian virtues. Cardinal virtues represented here are peace, holding an olive branch, fortitude, covered in armor, prudence, as you can see, magnanimity, temperance, and not pictured next to temperance on the right-hand side is justice. Above are the Christian virtues of hope, charity, and faith, respectively. On the opposite side of the image, the left-hand side of the image, justice is represented once again, now in the traditional form of scales, both punishing and rewarding, as well as distributing goods and making equal exchange. Justice, as you can see, is also guided by sapienza, or wisdom. Justice is holding a cord that comes down into a woman whose name, in fact, is Concordia, a play on words, the woman with the cord, who is also responsible for making people in accord with one another, in agreement with one another. You can see she has a carpenter's plane on her lap, and that plane also, interestingly enough, corresponds with what would be images of the Sienese citizens represented here, all at the same height, who are in turn holding a cord that then goes right up into the hand of the allegory of the city of Siena. We understand that to be Siena because of the she-wolf, and Romulus and Remus, Remus's sons, were responsible for founding the city of Siena. It's this proper leadership that, when you can be inspired by these values and spurned on by justice, that allows you to see the city of Siena. It is a flourishing city. It's a city where people are secure and can be out without military assistance. It's a city in which you can see architecture is blooming, blossoming. You can tell that there's great commerce. So the economy of the city is also flourishing. You can see that there's also an attempt to demonstrate here education. There are also individual happy citizens. We would need more time to discuss the relevance of these particular individuals, but our historians have indicated that the light seen in the city is emanating, in fact, from these 10 representative figures dancing in the middle of the city, performing a dance known as Gaudium, or in other words, the dance of joy. Therefore, in a city properly led by inspired leadership and conscious leadership, is a city that leads its citizens to feel joyful and then to illuminate the city and be a light or lamp for the world. In contrast, you have this negative pantheon of leaders, led, of course, by tyranny, now representing instead the leader of Siena, informed by the she-goat of lust here, and then flanking tyranny on either side is cruelty, holding a sickle, about to disembody a child. Prodigality seems like a sheep, innocent enough, but yet turns into a scorpion. Fraud, then furor or wrath, then division, and then also war. Above, you have vainglory, superbia, and avarice. Superbia is pride, of course, lifting ourselves up above others and then diminishing them. All of these things feed tyranny, and where tyranny reigns, justice can no longer be properly served, and therefore is bound with the same cord that had once bound instead the citizens together in law and order. As a result of this leadership, you have a city that is destroyed, with architecture falling apart, people roaming the city and pillaging. And then on the countryside, likewise destroyed, you have an image of someone named Timor, or fear. And upon that scroll is written the following words: because each seeks only his own good in this city, justice is subjected to tyranny. That is the second play on words in these frescoes that are known as the buon comune frescoes. The buon comune could either mean good governance or common wealth. And in this, we see that one who seeks only his own good, that is, one who seeks only self-interest, classifying these issues in economic terms, that it's not evil or tyranny or only poor leadership that adds to a disastrous city or countryside and is the antithesis of human flourishing, but it's rather self-interest alone that acts against the commonwealth. John Ruskin, and our historian, not referencing these frescoes in particular, makes a comment here that I think allows us to understand the significance of these frescoes. Continue to make that forbidden deity your principal one, and soon no more art, no more science, no more pleasure will be possible. Therefore, the deity of self-interest is to be avoided. Instead, we should aim to sanctify wealth into commonwealth, all of our art, literature, daily labors, domestic affection, and citizens' duty. Only in that sense will we be able to join and increase into a magnificent harmony, both our values and also our citizenry. And in that way, we make people. As John Ruskin notes, we'll know how to build well enough. We'll build with stone well, but with flesh better, temples not made with hands, but riveted of hearts. And that kind of marble, crimson-veined, is indeed eternal. And that kind of art, I would say, is indeed magnificent. Thank you very much.
Francis's fraternity is always partial and partisan because he's on the side of the victims. It's not the fraternity of neighbors. It's not the fraternity of equals. It's not a simple fraternity. It is an unlikely fraternity and sorority. It's very difficult to talk about this poverty and fraternity. Only some artists and writers have been able to do it.
Thank you. Our next presentation is by Heaton Song of Maharishi International University, and the topic for her paper is Exploring the Material Aspects of Sustainability Reporting by SMEs towards the construction of a unified field chart of sustainability measuring and reporting.
Hi, welcome to the International Conference on Consciousness-Based Leadership and Management. I am Heaton Song. From Maharishi International University, I teach metrics course for sustainability in this university. My research topic is exploring the material aspects of sustainability reporting by SMEs toward the construction of a unified field chart of sustainability measuring and reporting. Two key concepts are materiality and measures. Materiality is a concept borrowed from accounting. It refers to the most significant information, most relevant to the reasonable investors. While in the metrics for sustainability, materiality refers to the most significant information relevant to the reasonable expectations and interest of stakeholders more generally. Measures concerns the methods of measuring, like what indicators for measurement, scales, boundary for collecting the data, framework like ESG framework, and what type of ethics are based on by the SMEs to disclose their material aspects. Now, today's world is experiencing a paradigm shift, and there is a big contribution in economy by the SMEs. SMEs, when they disclose their sustainability, they use all kinds of metrics, or when they apply for some organizational certifications like ISO or B Corp. And then because of this complexity, I ask a research question. What are the fundamental underlying material aspects of SMEs when they report sustainability following GRI, or when they get evaluated by sustainability standards, such as ISO standards or the B impact assessment? Now, I conducted content analysis through thematic coding, the data source from 26 SME sustainability reports or evaluation documents downloaded from the database of the GRI, ISO, and B Corp certification. Selection criteria is SMEs and from different continents and from different industrial sectors. Deduce software was used. It was an iterative thematic coding. It went through the recoding, reparenting, eliminating redundancy. Eventually, the themes are emerged based on the frequency of the codes and co-occurrences of different codes. At the same time, excerpts and memos are constructed to support the rationale. Now, this is a visual aid to show which codes are very common or have high frequency. The co-occurrence table to show what groups of codes support those theme like virtual ethic, rightness ethic, etc. Now, the 4 emerging themes are virtual ethic-based measures for sustainability policy and strategy, rightness ethic-based measures for actions, consequence ethic-based measures for outcome, or the governance evaluation for sustainability management approach. Those are the 4 themes: virtual ethic, rightness ethic, consequence, and governance. Now, those are the examples to show how the excerpts to support that theme. For example, virtual ethic takes the stand of moral case for sustainability disclosure. Donations to the community, policies and actions that enhance human capabilities are good and virtuous, are therefore valuable disclosure information. Based on that type of value, SMEs pick those material aspects to report their sustainability. Those are examples for other 3 themes. Now, because this is literative and have literature checking for reconstruction, restructuring the codes, and I did comparison with the technical manual that used by SMEs to guide their reporting or for the application of organizational certification. And excerpts provide the concrete evidence. Let's come to the main point 1. 3 dimensions of sustainability is structured in layers, from a more expressed to more abstract. Material aspects measured by policy, action, and or outcome indicators. Those are on the more expressed level. Ethical philosophies is an analysis foundation for measures. Those are where the themes reside in. Unified field of natural law is at the fundamental level. We can see from this model, the bottom unified fields support the series of metrics which provide the guidance for the sustainability governance intelligence, which support the other 3 themes of measures. And those material aspects are in the more application level. And I discovered, for example, sustainability monitoring and networking are quite material to the stakeholders, because I guess it's because they can easily get access to the support, to the resources of sustainability. Thus, the unified field chart provides an integrating framework for representing the material aspects of SME's sustainability reporting in relation to the unified field at the fundamental level of mind and nature. And this research can provide guidance for SMEs reporting and for education. Thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you, Hayan. I'm sure there'll be questions after everyone has presented. Our next presentation is by Larry Clay of Case Western Reserve University, and the topic of his paper is Appreciative Inquiry and the SOAR Framework for Driving Innovative Capacity and Resilience Towards Cities as Sustainable Ecosystems.
Hello, my name is Larry Clay, and I am a PhD candidate at Case Western Reserve University, Weatherhead School of Management. Today, I will present to you my research in appreciative inquiry and sustainable development, and it is entitled Operationalizing Appreciative Inquiry and the SOAR Framework for Driving Innovation and Resilience Towards Cities as Sustainable Ecosystems. Now, my motivation and problem of practice in this space stems from my passion of and love for cities, as well as sustainable development and flourishing outcomes for society. And in fact, many stakeholders around the world have said that sustainable development in our cities and achieving sustainable cities is one of the major challenges of our time. This is important because 70+% of our population around the globe will be living in cities, which makes it even more important that we reach these outcomes and these sustainable development goals for cities where we create mass societal well-being, flourishing social and ecological environments, as well as maintaining a healthy economic system and economy. The big problem or the big concern is, how do we get there? What are our priorities? Who will do what? And what strategies are out there that can help us achieve flourishing and sustainability in cities? Well, just to give a brief synopsis of what has been done in the past, both in practice and has been seen in empirical work, prior efforts towards sustainable development and making cities more sustainable have been fragmented. It's been slow. We've seen incremental changes, but overall, particularly as we look at US cities, we're in a state of business as usual as it relates to our, not only our production side of our economy, but also on our demand side of our economy, where society and business are quite on the level of true understanding and implementation of sustainable practices. But what's out there over the past few years, there have been this new management approach, particularly appreciative inquiry, where the features of this type of approach is positive in nature, but also that it generates new ideas, which generates new capabilities and new products and innovation. So my research question was, well, how can we operationalize and measure attributes of appreciative inquiry in this SOAR framework that can lead to greater innovative capacity and resilience, which also influences the transformation towards sustainable cities and sustainable city ecosystems? Well, it's no secret that based on the theoretical work that has been done in the past, sustainable innovation is this key to the transformation towards flourishing and sustainable, which builds on innovative capacities in our innovation ecosystems that are nested within our city ecosystems. There's also this element of resilience that helps a city maintain its vitality, which, you know, as a metaphor, creates this flourishing or sustainable vitality once it's built. It is the adaptive responsive capacity of a city ecosystem through the human interactions and human transactions that happen and occur. Now, how do we approach it is very interesting, because there's this new form or relatively new form of management called macro management, which approaches organizational system change from a different method. It's neither a top-down hierarchical approach, but it's not a bottom-up force moving to make change or a grassroots change element. It's actually putting it both together and creating this whole system collective action power and getting the best out of both top-down and bottom-up and fusing them together to make a synergistic effect. Appreciative inquiry and SOAR, which I'll make a synonym of AR SOAR, is one of these types of macro management approaches, and the construct of our independent variable, which looks at approaching this organizational system change through elements of prospection, which is a positive focus, and future focus element. They look at things as a whole system instead of components of a system, and it's generative, strength-based, and a multi-stakeholder communication and collaboration instrument. Just to give a quick overview of appreciative inquiry, because of time, there is 6 phases of what we call the appreciative inquiry operating system. The SOAR framework stems from strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results, which is a deviation from our traditional way of thinking and analyzing things, which we use SWOT analysis that focus more on weaknesses and threats to come up with strategies. Instead, there's a positive spin with the SOAR, where we focus on the opportunities and move those opportunities into creating new positive strategies that creates positive results for implementation. And together, appreciative inquiry and SOAR is our construct in the framework that we're working from of our macro management approach that we hypothesize has a positive effect on innovative capacity as well as resilience. But we also hypothesize in our H3 and H4 hypothesis that through appreciative inquiry, innovative capacity and resilience has a mediating effect on each other. For instance, appreciative inquiry mediated by innovative capacity has a positive effect on resilience and vice versa. So we interviewed a sample of 341 city stakeholders in government, business, nonprofit, non-government organizations with a variety of different characteristics, age, and demographics. And based off of their results on appreciative inquiry and innovation and resilience, there was a positive effect based off how they perceive their city development, and that based off these beta weights, there is a positive effect of appreciative inquiry on innovative capacity as well as resilience, and it's significant, indicated by the star. But what's even more interesting is that appreciative inquiry and SOAR, mediated by innovation capacity, had a positive effect on resilience, and vice versa. AI SOAR, through resilience, mediated through resilience, had a positive effect on innovative capacity. So this dynamic between innovative capacity and resilience is what we, as well as Dale 2010, indicates as the flourishing ecosystem vitality. This interaction here represents that vitality that helps us achieve sustainable cities and a sustainable city vitality. Here's the summary table with the hard numbers of direct and indirect effects. So in conclusion, this scale development of AI SOAR on innovation and resilience is an effective and useful measurement instrument for operationalizing system change and developmental transformation. Primary stakeholders that promote partnerships and linkages through AI SOAR platforms build innovative capacities and resilience within city ecosystems that drive the achievement of cities as sustainable ecosystems. The double mediating effect from AI SOAR to innovative capacity and resilience were supported and significant, but what this shows is that this develops and maintains the city ecosystem as a sustainable and flourishing vitality. So any questions I'll take at the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the presenters.
Thank you, Vikram. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, Vikram, and thank you to all the presenters for presenting such wonderful papers from such broad set of frameworks and philosophies and practices. Kudos to you all. So let's introduce our moderator, Professor Sabita Sani of MIU. Sabita, all yours, please take away.
Thank you, Anil. Congratulations on your presentations. Thank you for providing your expertise and insight with such clarity. This was a wonderful experience, and I truly think that I've lucked out in being with such fabulous presenters and thought leaders. If you also take a minute and just look at the chart or at the chat, you will be amazed at the number of accolades and congratulatory notes that you've received from all the listeners. So congratulations. As the moderator of this session, where the topic is Philosophies of Oneness and Flourishing, I have the honor to ask each of the presenters one question. So I will follow the order of the presentation, and I will ask Janet the first question. Janet is one of our dynamic, excuse me, PhD students at Maharishi International University. Congratulations, Janet. Great job with your presentation. My question to you is, excuse me, I did write down some questions, so let me just open the, okay. In your paper, you refer to the similarities between Tao management and emerging consciousness-based theories in contemporary management. What main principles, one second. So what main principles does this, or opportunities does this convergence offer for creating flourishing for the individual, organization, and society?
Okay, thank you. First, do less and accomplish more. In management, it all depends on what we want to do less and what we want to accomplish more. Aligned to the laws of nature, we take less actions on superficial levels and accomplish deeper values to all stakeholders. Okay. Secondly, instead of looking for self-interest, we look for the good of the whole entity. We appreciate the value of wholeness rather than the sum of all parts. What's the difference? It is the eternal tie that combines all the parts, that which enables the ocean to draw all the droplets together. Lao-Tzu says, therefore the wise men embrace the one and set an example to all. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. They do not quarrel, so no one quarrels with them. Be really whole, and all things will come to you. So first, do less and accomplish more. Second, wholeness. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Janet. That was very enjoyable. My next question is to Richa Kathuria, who spoke about spiritual intelligence as in Nichiren Buddhism. To truly flourish, I do think we need to elevate spiritual consciousness and intelligence. And I believe that the concept of spiritual intelligence cannot be more relevant than in the present times. So my question then is, how would you recommend spiritual intelligence be cultivated or developed in leaders or even employees to create human wellness and flourishing? And could one just impart training of some sort to develop these employees and leaders in the area of spiritual intelligence? I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. It's a wonderful question. As Seligman defined flourishing as absolute well-being, overall well-being and happiness of the people. An aim of the Nichiren Buddhism practice is also to cultivate absolute happiness in the lives of people who follow it. For imparting SI training to leaders, we can use 3 pillars of Nichiren Buddhism. In Nichiren Buddhism, we follow 3 pillars of faith, practice, and study. In study, NB concepts or Nichiren Buddhism concepts are introduced to the people. For example, changing poison into medicine, where a person can use an adversity to grow and flourish. And that's to change poison into medicine. And in practice, we have certain rituals like chanting regularly and being in contact with the people in a community meetings. We have discussion meetings, so there are community meetings. So there we create one-to-one connection and have a feeling of oneness. As in the concept of Nichiren Daishin in Buddhism, which I have also mentioned in the presentation, many in body, one in mind. So when in a team, an organization is one with the mind, so they can achieve anything.
And in this process, the faith is followed. So it's a faith, practice, and study. By SI training, we can instill a sense of oneness and coexistence in mind of people and about nature and environment, because we are so much dependent on it. As in Nichiren Buddhism also, there is a concept of life and environment. So a harmony of our life and environment is needed. And another one, it's a community practice. Yes, and we can instill these in form of role plays and discussion meetings, and to develop the SI. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa. That was beautiful. My next question goes to Dr. Lijuan and Lijuan, who's one of our PhD students. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your very creative approach to enhancing the receptivity of our Chinese students. Are there any other modalities? Can you think of any other modalities, such as music, dance, or even storytelling, that could be utilized for teaching STC? And how do you think it would help universal oneness and flourishing?
Thank you, Dr. Sabita. This is a very good question. Yes, for the music and the dance can be used to illustrate and teach STC, science and technology of consciousness. Taking an example for dance, we know the dancing is unified for active and non-active. That means, action and non-action. Every step of active step is based on the non-step of action. So if you want to have, more firm and deep non-step of action, then more powerful and flexible for active step. So this is a principle, illustrate a very important STC principle, rest and activity is two-step progress. And also this relates to the second part of, your question, because, our body need a rest and also our minds need a rest. And the transcendental meditation and the city program is the most simple technique can bring us to have a deep rest for our mind and body. When our mind and body have fully rested and our mind is more clear and our actions more creative, and also our action will be more in tune with nature law. So that is the skill of action, right action will be more flourish to individual, society, and the world. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lijuan. Continuing, my next question goes to Dr. Subhashini Durai. Thank you, Dr. Durai. That was a fabulous, great presentation. My question is, from your analysis of Thirukural, which is, of course, one of the greatest works on ethics and morality, and also you presented the 7 levels of consciousness, what do you think is the single most important principle that would contribute most to universal oneness and flourishing?
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the appreciation, ma'am. And according to me, one single thing which I want to say to the consciousness-based leadership is to understand the real truth. And the second thing is, I just it is actually not practically possible, but still unattachment. Because all the Vedic literatures, they speak about even spirituality, they speak about unattachment. But when we try to practice it in the real situation, it's really hard. But the only thing which can be a bridge for unattachment, for practicing unattachment, is to know the real truth, or to understand the real truth. And whatever may be the nature of the object or a situation or a person, or whatever may be, it may be perceived to a leader should take complete responsibility to understand the real truth behind that particular object or the situation or the person, to take an effective decision. And that decision will be completely based on truth, which is ethical to himself and also to the organization. And finally, the end result will be the truth. That is trust. Trust is the very important factor a leader should get from his team members, and ultimately this trust will be gained only when he follows the truth, understanding the real truth.
Thank you, Dr. Durai. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
The next question goes to Giorgia and Kristen. I don't have words to express how much I enjoyed your visual presentation. It was such a joy. Thank you so much. Just absolutely fabulous. Wonderful. So my question to you is, what does art history teach us about flourishing humanity?
Thank you very much for this question. I'm going to answer the first part of it using the words of the famous Italian philosopher and art historian Leon Battista Alberti, who wrote the first treatise in the Western tradition in Latin on art called De Pittura in 1435. He quite literally answers your question by saying, I think I should explain here how painting is worthy of all of our attention and study. He goes on to say, painting possesses a truly divine power in that it not only makes the absent present, as they say of friendship, but it also represents the dead to the living many centuries later. He goes on in that chapter to mention that poets credit Narcissus, the great myth of Narcissus, as being the first painter who, I'm sure you know, looked into a still pool and saw his own reflection. So he both embraced the reflection as an image, but also embraced the idea of the mental contemplative process of reflecting and meditating on that which we see. Machiavelli, the great writer of The Prince, was famous for saying that appearance is more important than substance because more people have eyes to see than brains to understand. So the value and importance and centrality of image is very important in art. But you'll also notice from the story of Narcissus that Narcissus eventually became a flower. There's also quite literally a flower known as Narcissus. The city Florence, Italy, in its Italian name is Firenze, which comes from the Latin from fiorire, which means flower. So it's important to notice that the Italian Renaissance, noted for being in the Western tradition central to human flourishing, is intrinsically, linguistically, and visually linked to the idea of common human flourishing that places people back at the center of all concerns in philosophy, in art, in literature, and in any type of cityscape. So the economy and the ecology of the spirit are together. I think it's important to note that the Renaissance came after the plague of 1348, and with relevance to the COVID world, I think we're in a new position now to embrace the idea of flourishing and to put us ourselves and the human back in a position of centrality in all concerns, including economics. Thank you.
Very good. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much. My next question is to Dr. Song from MIU. I have to congratulate you on just your presentation of the Unified Field Chart song. What an inspiration. My question to you is, based on your research, could you please elaborate on one main principle for fostering universal oneness and flourishing?
Thank you very much. Sustainability evaluation exists in many layers. The principle is a reporting firm should measure and disclose sustainability in alignment with the nature's law when planning, implementing, and measuring their performance. Let me use an example to elaborate on this. For example, when the firm discloses the energy, and it can disclose energy use within and beyond the organization, and can also report its reduction against the baseline compared with the best practice in the industry. So all those things are related to the efficiency. They can use the accounting measure or activity measures and normalize it into the energy productivity. Horizontally, this environmental disclosure are related to the economic indicators, such as reduced risk, reduced cost, increased profitability. Now, when the expectations and interest of a great group of stakeholders' interest are addressed, that is the social sustainability. So we can see there's three dimensions of sustainability are interconnected, are synergistically transformed. Now, when measure them, disclosing them in alignment with the natural law, That is called oneness, because the interconnectedness. This can contribute to the flourishing and the positive change, a sustainable development of our society. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Song. That was fabulous. I know that I've also been charged with the job of, giving my wholeness to the session, sort of summarizing my key takeaways from the session. So couple of sentences just jumped out at me. In particular,
I think Larry's reading. Larry's next. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, yes, I will stall my analysis and I will request Larry to answer a question that I have for him. And the question is, what is the most important implication of your research model for fostering humanity and oneness?
Yes, the most important implication from this conceptual model is that we've developed a scale for appreciative inquiry, which has traditionally been a qualitative analysis, and created a quantitative way of measuring and operating appreciative inquiry that captures the underlying relational process to create new capabilities for fostering innovation and building ecosystem resilience. What this does is it captures the perception of respondents that take the survey, and it really captures how they feel about the progress of their city towards sustainability and flourishing systems. And it actually confirms and validates that appreciative inquiry is effective in creating new innovative processes, innovative services and products once people are put together, whether it's a team, group, organizational system, or in this study, this was on the scale of an ecosystem of a city. So the biggest implication is that appreciative inquiry is a good operationalized system that can be used to foster new innovation that creates flourishing, a flourishing ecosystem, as well as a flourishing person on the individual level that participates.
This is my cue to summarize and sum up. So there were a couple of sentences that jumped out at me. One was renovate the people. And the second one that I really enjoyed was dance of joy to build well enough. I thought these were just deep and meaningful sentences, and I know I made a note of those. A couple of other things. The themes that jumped out at me was, one, just unity in diversity. A key takeaway was the commonality of the deep principles underlying different philosophies and their universal applicability. So whether it was the Tao philosophy or the Nichiren Buddhism philosophy or the Thirukural literature, they all really contribute to enhancing human oneness and flourishing. The other theme that resonated with me was that knowledge is structured in consciousness. And when people anywhere advance in the consciousness of oneness that lies within and create from that oneness, practical solutions emerge. Just as we saw in the presentation today, whether it was the use of appreciative inquiry, if it was the formation of the unified field chart, any of these solutions that we saw, whether it was consciousness-based education system, or even understanding the material aspect of sustainability, that was coming from a place of oneness. So that was the second theme that jumped out at me. I also think that the narrative that we have here, the conference such as this one, with its 1-point focus of human oneness, is really a valuable partner in shaping the emergent narrative of human flourishing and resilience for sustainable development. So I am hoping, and I'm really putting my thoughts on this, my attention on this, because we know that whatever we put our attention on grows. So I'm hoping that this is going to become an annual feature where we have a conference and we get like-minded people together to talk about human oneness and flourishing. Thank you so much, Anil and Vikram and Dr. Heaton for such a fabulous job. Thank you. I really enjoyed being part of this session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Subhita.
I don't know if our time is up. If it's not, perhaps the presenters can ask each other a question or two, but I think our time may be up.
Yeah, I think beautiful. First of all, thank you to Subhita for a beautiful summary and for all the presenters for great presentations. Yes, we can continue for a few minutes. I think I'll stop maybe we don't stop the recording, or we stop the recording formally. That session is kind of over. So you have those who want to go off, it's a break. Next session begins in about 90 minutes. That session would be a Vedic panel on oneness. Actually, we'll have world-class presenters on that also. So as Subhita said, this is a one-pointed conference on oneness and flourishing. So every session will be providing great joy in that direction. So please feel free if you need to take a break, but if you want to continue, you can continue. So I'll just stop the recording for now. Thank you all for joining. And please don't forget to put in your feedback if you don't mind. Thank you.